Hello and welcome to another edition of the Wayne Room podcast, where today it's just the two of us, with Paul unfortunately feeling under the weather, so we hope he gets well soon. But me and Frankie are back to go through the 6 live races on ITV Racing on Saturday, with racing from Doncaster on the 3rd day of their St. Leger meeting and 2 races from Chester. Frankie, what a weekend of action it was last week. Obviously, we saw Group 1s all over the place in Ireland and in England. But this week we have the final classic race of the 2023 flat season to get stuck into, and what a race it could be.
Yeah, really good weekends racing, and I like this weekend. I feel like you really got to get stuck in to having a look across all multiple cards and the St. Ledger, and then my head starts to switch to jump racing. This is the kind of last hurrah of the flat, I think, and yeah, it's a cracking weekend. We're recording Friday morning. I'm going to Doncaster today, so I'm going to be up there today, and then I'm over to my usual Saturdays at Chester. So it's nice that we're going to look at a few races from Chester as well. It feels like my home turf, Chester. But yeah, brilliant weekend. The Betfred St. Ledger as well, which is brilliant for me, being a sponsor. So I'll get it there and enjoy it today.
Yeah, perfect weekend really for you, isn't it? Obviously being
Yeah.
a Betfred ambassador with them sponsoring the St. Ledger, and also you having your ties to Chester as well, so you can go to both tracks. So,
Just need some winners, James.
yeah, that's all we need. That's all we need. And we are going to kick off this week at Doncaster in the 150 Group 2 Champagne Stakes over 7 furlongs. And look, it sees some smart 2-year-olds, Frankie, go to post as ever, but we only have a field of 5 here. Rosallion at the top of the market, 8 to 15, very short price favourite. Iberian, 7 to 2 for Charlie Hills. Mountain Bear at 14s for Aidan O'Brien, who to me, for Aidan O'Brien, with the Arsenal he's got with his 2-year-olds, this probably isn't even on the subs bench, is it? So
Yeah, it's
right,
down the pecking order.
yeah, at 14 to 1. Some way for David Municia at 16s, and Power Mode. And Power Mode's at 40 to 1 outside of here, but he's declared to run on Friday at Doncaster. So you just got to check whether he takes up the running on Friday, because he could be pulled out and sent here instead, or could run and be pulled out here. Anyway, Rosallion, top of the market, 8 to 15, Frankie. If the ground's a bit softer, he won't have ran on that, but he looks head and shoulders above these, doesn't he? And his price suggests that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just look at the numbers, his price suggests that, his rating suggests that, he's rated £11 higher than anything else in the field. Even RPRs last time out, 12 pounds higher than anything else here, or points higher than anything else here. So, he's rated the highest. He looks to be the best horse. You watched that race last time out. He put a good amount of distance between himself and the rest of the field, which were all traveling okay until he decided to quicken. And when he did, he was gone. So he looks really, really solid, to be honest. I was having a flick through and trying to find an angle with the others. I think the only challenger is Iberian. But for me, Rosalien should really go and win this.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the only horse that could try and beat Rosallion is Iberian, but I just don't think that horse will even get close either. Look, he's 8 to 15 for a reason. Keep these very short and sweet. Another thing he's got going for him is the horse that finished second to him last time out, Al Musmak. I was at Haydock last week, and that went on to win a nice listed event as well. So even if it didn't need the form franking, with just how stylish he's won, he has got the form to back it up as well. There is obviously slight doubts about the ground at Doncaster. It's currently soft. I don't know how much rain's going to fall between now and Saturday, so it could dry up. But this will be the softest ground he's probably faced. But still, in a field like this, you can't see Rosallion getting beat, can you? So very unoriginal to start, but we can only say as what we see. And if anyone's getting involved, it's probably one if you want to shove in accumulators in it across the weekend, because it's just a very short horse to back on its own. But none of us can get it beat. So let's just. I think it's just a sit back and watch, isn't it?
The only negative, and this is just trying to find a negative, but was just that they were going quite slow when he won at Ascot, and that maybe flattered his sprinting ability in the closing stages. But like, you've got to be able to quicken, and he did, and you can only beat what's behind you. And it wasn't a bad field; they just weren't going the quickest. So if someone was to go really, really hard and the ground was soft, and maybe he didn't like it, but I think he'll be allowed to cruise along and quicken like he did again, if I'm honest. So yeah, you're probably right, James. One for the Accas.
Yeah, one for the accumulators or one just to watch and see a very, very good performance. Right, we're going to go over to Chester then for the first event of the afternoon on ITV, and it sees the 205 listed Stand Cup stakes over 1 mile, 4.5 furlongs. Surprisingly for me, I saw Blue Stocking here at the top of the market. I just didn't. She's much better than the caliber race she's in here. 5 to 6 at the top of the market. Al Karim coming back from 175 days off the track at 13 to 2 was a nice horse over the last 2 years. Modara sevens, who was a nice winner 2 starts ago. Sea of Roses for Andrew Balding. Empress were at 14s. L'Astronomy at 16s and Alba Longa at 40s. Obviously, when we come on this podcast, we don't want to keep tipping up favourites. We want to get them beat. But for me, Frankie, I think it's a case of sit back and watch the first 2 we're going to talk about, because Blue Stocking is just head and shoulders above these, isn't she?
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised, like you said, to see her in here, and it's actually a really good, good quality of horses in here. Even Al Karim is a very decent horse on his day. But yeah, Blue Stocking. I mean, her last 3 performances have been in Group 2 and 2 Group 1s, racing behind the best fillies. You know, behind Save the Last Dance, the winner at York.
Warm heart.
Yeah, Warm Heart. Like they're the top horses around at this distance. I know they're obviously fillies races, but she's still been performing super consistently on varying grounds in Group 1 races. Drops back into listed company. This shouldn't really be a problem for her. Al Karim would be the challenger, but you know, I think for Al Cream, this is the case. I don't really know actually what the thinking is here, because Al Cream's been, you know, raced, tried up to 2 miles, and then after a break, is coming back to 1 mile 4. The season's coming to an end, so it's not like you could say this is a, you know, a prep run to go to something else. They're coming and having a crack. Maybe they didn't expect Blue Stocking to turn up, and they also thought they'd found a nice race to come and win. So I can't quite figure that one out. Al Cream is good on his day, but I still don't think as good as Blue Stocking. And you know, a horse that's been placed in multiple Group 1s over the trip on the same ground should just go and win this.
Yeah, you bang on. Look, I've tried to get her beat, but she's just a different class of horse to these. And I know she's actually rated behind Al Green, but you've got to think of the sex allowance and stuff like that. But what Blue Stocking's done this season,
So the weight difference is massive, isn't it?
it's ridiculous. Like Al Kareem's got to give nearly a stone to Blue Stocking on his first run for 175 days. Like, if it would be an unbelievable performance if Al Kareem could go win. Look, Blue Stocking, like you mentioned, Frankie, has ran unbelievably well in the Irish Oaks. Should have won the Irish Oaks if it wasn't for Sable Last Dance. What was he, 999 to 1 or something in running, and came back up to win. So I think the Beckett team thought they'd landed the Irish Classic race there. Obviously behind Warm Heart in the Ribblesdale, was also behind Lumia Rock, who's come out and won the Group 2 Blandford Stakes last week at the Curragh, even enhancing the form that way. And then in the Yorkshire Oaks, she finished 4th, and she didn't run a bad race again behind Warm Heart and Sable Last Dance. I was surprised to see her drop down into a listed race, but I think it's just one of them. It might be a little bit of a confidence booster because she hasn't actually won this season. So they might just want to just give her a win for the season. She's been running superb races against superb fields. And now they might just think, right, come on, let's give her a little confidence booster and get her back winning. And this is a perfect bit of placement, because the horses in the field, even on rating with Al Karim, I understand, but from what she's shown this season, what she's done, she's just a much better horse than these, dropping from
I might be
to listed.
I might be way off here. My knowledge of sales isn't good enough, and I don't know how much it matters when you've been placing in group races. But do they still want to get some black type to her name, just so they've got it?
Potentially, like on the same with you, but I think if you do place in a group race,
you still do it.
You still get black type anyway. So
you do, yeah.
But
okay.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's one of them where if you probably with the breeding, you're reading right, placed in this, place in this, place in this, but then you look at the wins, don't you? So they might just want to get a win to her name, and so she's got it, and she doesn't just become the horse that's being the bridesmaid all the time. Yeah, look, it's a perfect bit of placing from Rafe Beckett. Rafe Beckett's team has had an unbelievable season, with winners all over the place in different countries. So Blue Stocking, top of the market, very unoriginal again, but we both can't get a beat. So maybe double them up, or maybe wait till what we're talking about and put it in a treble. But blue stocking in the first at Chester. Back over to Doncaster then, and hopefully here, Frankie, will find a bigger price, because we've got the second event of the day on St. Ledger Day, and it's the Betfred Portland Handicap over 5.5 furlongs. This race is competitive as ever. Sees 22 runners go to post, and this year, Frankie, and I know it's similar in the last few years, we're seeing horses that have been running at listed group level, trying to grab a nice win in a real tough handicap. You look at the likes of King's Lynn, a horse that you like, Happy Romance, Anaf, who've been running in Group 1s that have made the drop into a handicap. But Call Me Ginger was the winner last year, and he's top of the market 8-1. King's Lynn, 12's a horse you like a lot, but have jumped off recently. Chipstead, second in the race last year at 12s. Happy Romance at 12s, dropping into handicap company. Mackinac at 12s. Get It 12s. Anaf 14s. Abraham Gold, the winners of the Stewart's Cup, are 14s, and 16-1 bigger the rest. Right, Frankie, big prices, extra places on offer. Who are you going for?
I spent hours looking at this. Not quite hours, but a long time. Scratching my head for a long time. I think the favourite's strong, you know. Not to say I'm back in Call Me Ginger, but I think he is probably the right favourite. Won this last year off a mark of 89, comes here off of 91 with the same jock on board, still claiming 5. Has won nicely the last 2 times. Once without the claimer off of 83, once with off of 87. Both times was waiting for a gap, and gave the impression that there is still a little bit more there. So I wouldn't put anyone off backing the favourite, to be honest. And Amy Warren, who's rode this horse plenty of times and won at Doncaster, I think 2 or 3 times. So they've got a good relationship. Call Me Ginger clearly likes the track and has won it before. So it's a good place to start. Happy Romance, you mentioned. I think this will be his first ever try in a handicap. And with a £5 claimer, a good one as well. Alex Volkansky is not a bad place to spread that up. Happy Romance. King's Lynn. I've not even jumped off anymore. I've just forgotten King's Lynn. So I think I've got to that point. If he won it, I wouldn't even be kicking myself. It's long gone. So that's probably your winner. And then if you keep going down the bottom, Hurricane Ivor, another previous winner of this race. Won it in 2021. Plenty of form on soft ground, so if the rain keeps coming, won this on good to soft, I think, off of mark 102. This year's already won on heavy ground at the Curragh. Was only I know 5th or 6th, I think, in a listed race on soft, but was only 2.5 lengths off the winner, so that's not a bad performance either. Raced pretty poorly since in a number of handicaps, but not very valuable handicaps, and therefore comes here off a marker 92. If finding any of that old form, either at the start of this season on soft ground, or even going back to winning this race last year off 102, is massively well in. Just needs the ground, really. But I wonder, were they just having a day out in a couple of poor handicaps to come and have a crack at this, because this is a decent pot. So Hurricane Ivor's the selection. I think Call Me Ginger will be in the mix. And I don't think King's Lynn will get near.
Yeah, nicely summed up. A nice few runners there. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think Call Me Ginger off a marker 91. I think obviously this has probably been the plan. I know it's only run 7 days ago, but the way they won the race last year, and the way he acts at Doncaster, and the way this horse acts at this time of year, towards the end or the start of September, if you look at all his wins, he accumulates the most of his wins throughout his career around this time. So I can completely understand for Call Me Ginger at 8-1 at the top of the market, and I think could run really well again, trying to seek the hat trick. Happy Romance was my first selection for the reasons you named. She's dropping back in a handicap with Alex Wojcicki, a really nice £5 claimer, taking off that 5. She races off a marker 102. Taking off the 5, she runs off a marker 97. Mainly throughout her career, she's been running off 110, 109, 108. And I know it's not in handicap company, but she's been running to fair enough that level in group races and listed races. So to drop her back into a handicap here, I think could be an inspired move. She's got bundles of back form. Last year, seen finishing second in the Group 1 Alquoz Sprint in Maidan. As a 3-year-old, she landed the Group 3 Hackwood Stakes and also a close third in the Group 3 Coral Charge on good to soft ground. This season, she's been very inconsistent with her best run coming on her third start at Bath on good to soft ground when landing the listed Lansdowne Stakes. Since then, she's finished sixth, dramatising the Group 2 Temple Stakes. And last time out, she was, I think she only beat 3 home in the Group 1 King's Stand Stakes. Group 1 level isn't her level. She's not a Group 1 horse. But what she is a very, very good horse. And to drop down into a handicap, showing at Group 3 listed level and trying to do it at Group 2, that she can mix it with the best of them. I think dropping into a handicap, effectively racing off a marker 97 on conditions she handles very well. She's very versatile. I thought 12-1 was a nice each way price with extra places on offer. So, yeah, Happy Romance for my first selection. But Frankie, I can't believe it. We've landed on the same one, and we send each other our selections just before we go on the show, mainly, don't we? And we both message each other saying, "How the hell have we both found Hurricane Eye?" Because this horse, really, it's a big price at 20-1. But we shouldn't even be talking about it with his form recently. But what Hurricane Ivor has got with him is, like you say, is the win 2 years ago off £10 higher mark.
A nice bit of soft ground form as well.
Yeah, soft heavy is exactly what it wants. I hope it doesn't try up for this horse, because obviously Frankie Dettori has chose a rest, and we'll be hoping that the ground will be as soft as anything. But what we saw yesterday, I'm expecting more rain throughout the day. Not sure how much rain's going to fall on Friday. And Saturday, it could actually just turn out to be good to soft, even good to soft good in places where for this horse, he will need mud, soft, heavy ground. He will need more rain. So let's do a rain dance for Hurricane Ivor. But what you've mentioned there, you bang on. He won this race of 102. Then went into a Group 3 off the back of that race 2 years ago. And I think it was a mark 107 and went and won that. So we know he can race to a very high level. He just needs to find that form. What he's been doing recently, look, he started the season winning a 6 furlong handicap on heavy ground off a marker 96. So he comes here off £4 lower. He's got his ground. He hasn't been running very well since. But I think it just might be a ploy that if you look at the races in Ireland, they're very, very competitive, because they don't happen all the time compared to what we do in England. And where we used to race in England, I think the racing suits better than he does in Ireland. So I think they just thought, you know what, let's come back here to England where he's run it before, and let's try again, because he's not getting to last chance alone. But with what he's been doing recently, the way he's handicapped, let's go and win a big pot. And I think he's got a lot going from here. So 20-1, he would be my bigger price selection each way as well. But yeah, I think Call Me Ginger's a solid favourite, but I won't be putting him up. But I can see him winning. Happy Romance got a big chance in a handicap at 12s, and Hurricane Ivor to nab a nice place at 20s. Right, we're going to go over to Chester for their final event then. And it's the 240 Sealand handicap over 1 mile, 2.5 furlongs. A race that wouldn't inspire many compared to what's on the card at Doncaster, but it's still one to work out that's very competitive. We have Sweet Reward at the top of the market at 9-2. First Impression 5-1. Box to Box 6-1 for Hugo Palmer. Barishnikov at 8. Southern Voyage at 17-2 and 9-1 bigger the rest. Frankie, who did you land on?
Just flicking across. I know that it's box to box. I found this race quite hard. No disrespect to any of the horses in here, but it was one of those races where I didn't fancy anything. Nothing stood out to me anyway. And, you know, a couple of these horses have raced against each other previously. At Chester, you know, everyone knows that course form is probably a little bit more important than anywhere else, just because the nature of the track is so unique in its tight turns. And box to box has just unbelievable Chester form, and comes here off the same mark that he's won off previously, and comes second off of 88 as well. Sorry, he's beat a couple of these. Barashnikov and I think Dark Pine were both behind him last time at Chester. Went to York last time, disappointing there, but back on his home ground. I originally wanted to try and go against him because his rating is still 88 and it's maybe a tad high in the handicaps for him. But as I said, there's nothing in here that I feel is really well handicapped. So I'm going to stick with him. But I found this a pretty tricky race, to be honest, and could make a case for a couple, but not a strong case for any. The other I like was First Impression, who won here last time out, and maybe just making to look at 2 quick fires on the balance. But I think that race that he won last time wasn't quite as good a standard as this. So box to box for the leading trainer, Hugo Palmer, and maybe the leading jockey, David Probert's rode a fair few winners around Chester this year. He's pretty handy around here.
Yeah, Hugo Palmer, obviously with the Manor House Stables, likes to have a lot of runners at Chester because Michael Owen's involved and he's not far from Chester, is he? So box to box at 6-1 has got a really big chance, and he's my selection as well. Frankie in here, we're either going to have a really good day or a really bad day, because
I'm feeling confident, James.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. But before he gets just before the race, that's when it all drains out of you, doesn't it? Yeah, box to box, exactly the same case you've made. If you look back through his Chester form, he just seems to run his best races round here. And I know there's a few in the field that do that with Baryshnikov and Dark Pine as well. First impression, of course, and distance winner as well. So he's competitive with winners at Chester, but box to box, he won a handicap over course and distance off a mark of 81, and then 2 weeks later, over a further furlong at the track, made it back-to-back wins over mark 85. The rest of that year was an absolute write-off. Like I said, all he does is perform really well at Chester. Seen at Chester 2 occasions this term, back down to a mark of 85. He got back to winning ways over course and distance, and I think it was in the race he won last year. And he followed the same path, going up a furlong in the same race he won in 2022, and just bumped into Dream Harder, who we know is not a bad horse at all. And that was off a mark that he finished second off a mark at 88. And obviously he comes here off the same mark. What he's done since that I think was nice, he's ran better at another track. He was second at York behind Spirit Dancer. Spirit Dancer is a bit of a specialist on the Naysmart. I know he hasn't ran well the time before at York, but that was a really competitive race. I don't think this is as competitive. And coming back to Chester, yes, stall 10's not ideal, regardless how long the race is, but you've got enough time over 1 mile, 2.5 to overcome that draw. So, yeah, box to box at 6 is my selection as well. I just want to give a mention to another one at each way. Is the one I just talked about was Dark Pine. Look, you look at his form and you think, how the hell can you even be talking about this horse? But at Chester, you've got to take him seriously. He's a big price at 10-1 each way. Might be able to get 4 places. Just check around for bookmakers, but he's a specialist. And like I said, there is horses in here that are. He's raced at the track 3 times during his career. On his course debut over course and distance off a mark of 93 in 2021, he was a winner. This season in the same race, finished second, a narrow second off a mark of 90. And when last seen at the track over a furlong further, he didn't run his race in 5th. I don't think the extra furlong helped at all. So over the course and distance, he's run really, really well. He's now dropped down to a mark of 86, which is £7 below his last winning mark at the track, and drawn well in stall 4. I just thought he could go close off a mark of 86, having run really, really well at Chester, and he won't mind soft ground either. So box to box is my selection, but just from an each way standpoint, just have a look out for Dark Pine. Right, back over to Doncaster, and the next race we're going to talk about is the 3 o'clock Group 2 Betfred Park Stakes over 7 furlongs. A tricky punting affair, Frankie, but it's a nice race on the day. We have Spycatcher at the top of the market, 13-8, Audience at 3-1, Sandrine at 4-1. Beagles coming up into Group 2 company from handicaps at 6s, Jumbie at 12s, and Pogo at 25s. The thing with this race is it's not the greatest Group 2 in the world, but it's full of horses that always run against each other. Jumbie, Pogo, they've been about forever. Sandrine's been running a lot this year. Audience has been in the same mark. The Beagles obviously coming up from a handicap, and the only one you've got that's done it at a high level this season is Spycatcher. So who are you going with?
Yeah, maybe that's lured me in a bit because of Spycatcher is the one to get on the board a number of times, but I think he's the most likely winner. Not to keep hammering the ground, but it is a big factor. The soft ground in the going, as we're looking at it now, worries me about Audience. That was kind of my first thoughts there. I would prefer to see a quicker surface for Audience. Sandrine has been running okay, but has finished behind Spycatcher and behind Audience as well. So those horses have both got the better of Sandrine on various grounds as well. Biggles, I don't think is the worst shout in the world if you wanted to try and find a price. Paul's Fav, isn't he? And has won a race this season. Is versatile ground-wise. Is pretty consistent, bar underperforming at Ascot last time out. So I kind of went through it and came back to the favourite, who just ticks plenty of boxes. James, he's won twice this season. He's won over 7. He's won over 6. The 6 was in a Group 3 on soft ground. The 7 was also on soft ground. He was second last time out in a Group 1, and a couple of horses were behind him that he races against here. So he's raced at the best levels. He's won the most times. He will go on soft ground. I think he's also previously won at Donny as well. If you go back earlier in his career, maybe that's wrong. But bar that, he's pretty solid, isn't he? So it's not one to get carried away at. But if you just ignore prices and you look at the field, for me, he's the most likely winner.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Look, this race doesn't blow your socks off. Like I said, it's not the strongest Group 2 in the world. And for that reason, that's why I just think Spycatcher goes and wins this. Because, yes, audiences ran well this season, but won't like the soft ground. I was surprised to see audiences rated £6 higher than Spycatcher. I couldn't get my head around that. And Sandrine's even rated £3 higher than Spycatcher. Again, couldn't get my head around it. But, yeah, Sandrine, I think, did better earlier on in a career. Audience won't like the soft ground. Biggles is interesting, but it's very tough from a handicap perspective to jump into a Group 2, especially against Spycatcher, who's done it at Group 1 level this season. Jumbie's been solid in a lot of races, but I just don't think he's all that consistent on the day, if you know what I mean. Yes, he's run well at times, but can also put in stinkers, and Pogo at 7 just doesn't look the same horse. So from process elimination, I just thought Spycatcher was the one to be on here. He started this term off at Thirsk on soft ground over 7 furlongs in a condition stakes, absolutely bolted up by close to 4 lengths from Mount Athos. Then went to Ascot in the Victoria Cup. I think he was nearly off top mark that day, top weight, and it was over 7 furlong again at Ascot on soft ground. And he finished 4th of 22, which is a good performance. Upped in grade at Newcastle in the Group 3 Chip Chase Stakes, and he just went down by a neck to Tiber Flow, and we know Tiber Flow is a nice sprinter. Sent over to France, got back to winning ways on soft ground again in the Group 3 Prix de Riz Oranges. That's how you say it. That's probably butchered that, bigger than I've ever butchered anything, but I'll give it a try. When bolting up by 3 lengths, and then over half a furlong further, the same track at Deauville, put up a career best effort when beaten by Shorthead in the Group 1 Prix Maurice de Geest. He's ideal conditions you'll get, softish ground. 7 furlongs, no problem. Even though he's run over 6, he handles 7 as well. This season, he's ran to his best ever level as a 5-year-old. He hasn't ran to a better level anywhere throughout his career consistently. And I just think this is perfectly set up for him. He's got everything going for him. I think 13 to 8. I think it's not a bad price personally, because I think he deserves to be at the top of the market. And I just don't think anything else in the field is that good. So I'm very strong on Spycatcher, and my probably bet of the weekend will be Spycatcher, Rusalian, and Blue Stocking as little mug treble. And hopefully with Spycatcher 13 to 8 boosts the odds, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm all over Spycatcher, and I hope he goes and gets the job done. Right, the big one, the final event of the afternoon we're going to talk about on ITV Racing, and the big event of the weekend in the UK is the 335 Group 1 Betfred St. Ledger Stakes over 1 mile, 6.5 furlongs. We see 9 runners go to post this season, and for me, it's not the best renewal we're ever going to see, but it's full of horses that are just very, very similar level, which makes it so hard to unfold. So that's why I think it's a really good renewal, if you get what I mean. I don't think it's the best renewal from a standout point of the horses are excellent. I think don't get me wrong, I think they're very, very good horses, but I think we've seen better horses that will go on and win this race. But because of the level they're at, they're all tying with each other, and it makes the problem to solve so hard. We have a rest at the top of the market, 100 to 30, Continuous 4 to 1, Gregory 4 to 1, Desert Hero 5 to 1, Middle Earth 8 to 1, Chess Piece 12s, Tower of London 12s, Alexandropolis at 28s, and Denmark at 50 to 1. Frankie, obviously a rest has gone in at the top of the market with Dettori jumping off Gregory and going for a rest. Obviously, the bookmakers have reacted to that because Frankie's last ever classic race. He probably doesn't. No one thinks he's going to make the wrong decision. Do you think he has made the wrong decision?
I'm going to say no, because I backed Continuous at York, and I although I did get excited about Gregory winning at the Raw meeting. There was something in me that said maybe he's not quite as good as we first thought, and I held that King of Steel form that Continuous had higher from Royal Ascot than Gregory's success. So I wasn't getting too carried away with Gregory, as it were. So to see the soft ground and Frankie jump onto Arrest, if I was picking out of the two who I think would win, Arrest or Gregory, I would stick with Arrest. And I know he's quite a tricky horse to back, especially at the prices, because he has had a bizarre kind of campaign, hasn't he? Being, so impressive and then going off almost favourite for the Derby and being awful there, and then even being bad at Ascot as well. Clearly is a soft ground horse. He was really well backed when he won last time. It wasn't the greatest race, but has to be ability there. Well, there clearly is ability there. I don't know if I'd be backing him because he's a funny horse, but out of the two, yeah, I would have Arrest out of the two.
Okay. So my next question is, who wins it?
Oh God! If it was that easy, my shortlist are Continuous and Desert Hero. As I said, I back Continuous at York. I like the second to King of Steel en route. He seems to be improving each time. I wouldn't say that form's taken a knock because King of Steel did run okay over in Ireland as well last weekend. So King of Steel, Continuous, sorry, is solid, but Desert Hero is like an enigma, isn't he? He's just seems to be getting better each run. I love the way in which he's won his races, been threaded through late, travels really, really strong. Even just watching Tom talk about him, he seems to get excited talking about him. I don't think that the extra 2 furlongs will be a problem at all. If anything, it might be a plus for the horse who just travels so well. He's ground versatile. He's the most exciting in the field for me. It'd be amazing as well for the King and Queen to have a winner of the St. Ledger. So Desert Hero is the pick. I hope he just gets better again. And I honestly think you could see him winning the same way. Travel, 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 travel. And then when Tom says get going, could go and just win the race.
So Desert Heroes, the final one you landed on at 5-1. It's a very, very tricky one, and this is why we've got to talk through it, because you can make a case for loads. I'll start at the top with the question I asked you, and I'll ask it myself. Has Frankie Dettori made the wrong decision, and who am I to tell him? But I think he has made the wrong decision. This is where we differ. And this is probably me talking with my pocket, because I put up Gregory at 14-1 anti-post, and at that it was 2-1 favourite at one point. 4-1 still a good price from 14s, but I think the ground's going to dry out throughout the day if they don't get any more rain suggested, which would suggest Gregory would come into it. And just the way Arrest absolutely needs deep ground. We don't know whether Gregory needs soft or good, because we've never seen him race on soft. So look, he does tell you that obviously on soft ground Arrest is going to be better, because Frankie wouldn't have jumped off if not. But I just don't think we know that he stays so well, Gregory. And I know Arrest does as well, especially in the mud. But Gregory, if you saw him in his last race behind Continuous, he absolutely bolted out under Dettori and was like 2 furlongs out, gasping for air. And then he ran on. He finished ahead of, I think, Castle Way, who was back in second. Like, actually, after the line, was still going. He will love this trip, Gregory. So who am I to tell the great man that he's made the wrong decision? But I'm going to stick with he has, and I think he should be on Gregory. And I think Gregory will finish above Arrest on the day. Secondly, who wins it? I'm with you. And I think Gregory's got a great chance. And from an anti-post perspective, 14s was a far too big a price. But I think Desert Hero at 5-1, he's absolutely solid as a rock. Just for what he's done this season. And look, you can...
It's a fair each way bet, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's an each way bet to nothing. You're going to get your stake back in finishing the top 3. And you know that he'll be running on late. You know, and this is the thing with this race at Doncaster. The straight is so long that you have ample opportunity to weave through horses and get there, especially over this trip. What he's done this season in the King George, the 5th stakes over 1 mile 4 at Royal Ascot, where he hit trouble about 3 or 4 times, and you just didn't think Mark 1 was going to get him out. And when he did, he absolutely flew home. And I know he only beat Valiant King by a head, but I thought the winning margin flattered Valiant King. If he would have got 3 earlier, he'd have won by much further in that handicap.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Tom about that race, because from watching it, like you said, watching it live anyway, it was as if, wow, this horse has come from nowhere and put in a massive effort. But Tom did say he felt like he was winning the race from a long way out. He just needed to get there. So
Yeah.
there was obviously a lot of horse underneath him. It was just a matter of getting him through however many horses it was. So the ability, is there as it showed when he went and won again.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this is the thing. That was 19 runner event. He's since gone into the Group 3 John Pierce Racing Gordon Stakes at Goodwood, and he was a right Barney with the chess piece who's basically double the price, isn't he, at 12-1, who's he is interesting, but I just don't think he's a good a horse as Desert Hero. But that was another one. Desert Hero came from off the pace and got up late, and I just thought over 1 mile 4, the further he was going, the better he'd be. So the step up to this trip, I thought would be absolutely ideal. What he's got is this time, there's only 9 runners in this race. He loves to pass horses. He'll probably be at the back. He'll probably be the last horse turning for home. He'll be the last horse coming out the stalls. He'll drop him in, Tom Marquand will. But he'll know how much he's got under him. And he'll love passing horses. And I just think the race is set up perfectly for him. You know that with the 4 O'Brien horses in there, one of them's going to go and be the pace for continuous. You could pick out all of them. Tara London, Alexandropoulos, Denmark. I'd probably go with the 2 outsiders that are going to be up front to start with and try and make the race set up for Ballydoyle. But I think they could end up setting up for Desert Hero. I really do. And that's what that's the decision I came to. I thought 5-1 was a fair price in this field. I think going up in triple suits him. He's only improved this season. And it'd be nice for the King, wouldn't it, to win such a great race, a nice Group 1. It's a cracking race from a perspective of looking through it and trying to work it out. And I'm very, very much looking forward to see it. But we both landed on Desert Hero.
Desert Hero is the pick.
Yeah, Desert Hero. In the end, after all that waffle, Desert Hero is the one we're going with. Frankie, that's all 6 races covered from Doncaster and Chester on Saturday on ITV. All we need now is your nap, please. It's a shame Paul can't be on this week because he landed his nap last week with Al Sakib at Ascot, which was a nice minute. Mine was second light infantry. Couldn't believe it. But let's try and both have a winner this week. We've had very
my nap.
We've had very similar selections, haven't we? So
yeah, it's a tricky one to kind of find that because, as you said, you've got the shorties. Rosaline and Blue Stocking are both odds on. Spycatcher's short enough. Hopefully they all win, and then you're looking at a couple of kind of each way bets I want to have a crack at, but napping them is a different story, isn't it? I think I'm going to go in the ledger. I think I'm going to stick with Desert Hero. Box to box should be in the mix, I think, at Chester, and we both like Hurricane Ivor, but I'm not brave enough to have him as my nap at 20-1. So I think Desert Hero running on late. Hopefully we'll be shouting him home.
Yeah, we will be, and I hope he goes and wins. I'm going to go for one of the shorties, but the one at the bigger price, Spycatcher at 13-8 in the Betfred Park Stakes. Short head, second in a Group 1 last time out, dropping him to a weak Group 2. Ran really well all season, like 7 furlongs, like soft ground, everything going for him. I think he gets the job done. Frankie, thanks as always for your selections this week. A shorter show than usual when it comes to the races we've talked about, but a lot of good racing that we've got stuck into there from Doncaster and Chester. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections or nap for the weekend down in the comment section below. We like seeing what you're going for. And please subscribe to the Winners and Closer channel so you get notified when our shows go live. All the best wherever you are backing, and thanks for watching.